Okay, so nobody's getting the truth from the mainstream media, folks. It's well past time to open your eyes, your ears, and your mind. Do your own research, because something isn't right here. And if you can't see that, you are not paying attention, folks.
It's the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The important message that we need Australians to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. In line with that, I do encourage all Australians to please go and book your vaccinations as soon as you can if you haven't already done so.
Emma, get away!
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Okay, we need to stand up against this tyranny, folks. Stop giving away your freedoms and liberties, because the more you give up, the more these people will take until you have absolutely nothing left. That's their agenda. All right, good evening once again, viewers. Here we are. As I say, the start last night was the start of another week, guys, and we've got to make some decisions now, because we're seeing a bit of information coming out now, which is quite handy, and we can discuss that tonight. So we've got a couple of people who actually ran for seats tonight on, and we're going to have a chat about what their experience was, what they thought about it, and then we've got some very glaring information. So we're going to go through that and see what you guys think about that. So if you've got any questions, we'll try and keep our eyes on them in the chat, guys. All right, but firstly, I'd like to know why we need to go to New Zealand for a new cop. Obviously, this guy is not going to be good for Victoria. So, yeah, they've gone over and got a guy that, I had a quick look, but, yeah, I don't think he's I can't see anything at the moment being any good. So, but, yeah, we had to go outside, guys. We're going outside to fill our police force. We're going outside to fill our army, now anyway. This is where we are, guys. And as I say, it doesn't look good for these guys, because we've, I think Australia's spoken. They're just not looking at it at the moment. All right, so warning to all 1.8 billion Gmail users over a password hack. So just be careful, guys. I don't know what's going on out there with that, but we do have one of those in one of our emails. But, yeah, look out. Now, I'm just wondering what they'll do here, guys, because the cotton picking is just season's just picked off in southern Queensland. So I'm just wondering how they'll actually devastate this, you know what I mean, or what they've got up their sleeve to actually, like, maybe slow down the cotton industry, like everything other industry. This is just what they're doing, But hopefully we're not going to let them do that for too much longer, people. That's the idea. So, well, let's bring some people in. We've got Mark Mack, and we've got Kevin Lowry, who Mark, as you know, ran down there in Victoria, out in the...
I ran in Richmond, northern New South Wales.
No, you did, yeah, but Mark didn't. Mark ran down in Victoria. You ran in Richmond, New South Wales. So, guys, quickly give me your just your thoughts and response on your campaign, and quickly what happened. How'd you go?
If you're going to run for office, now's the time to start. In other words, immediately after a campaign. The Libertarian Party, in fact, all of the parties are delinquent in that regard. They don't get their asses into gear until about maybe 6 weeks before the election. The election gets called 5 weeks before election day, and it's just a total mess. It could use other names, but it's a total mess.
It is. Mark?
Oh, for me, I think I was just really amazed how the current sitting member of Indi got back in, considering what a liar she is, what a yes voter for the Voice she was, what a Climate 200 advocate she is, bought and paid for. I mean, I'm a nobody. I wasn't expecting to win, guys, but I'm just amazed the polls are making out she's increased her margin a couple of percent.
Well, we've got some good figures here, but I think we'll just leave them for a minute. But Caz has got some stuff, the relationship between Canada and Australia. I don't know if that one's in here, but there's some really dodgy stuff going on. So, Caz, if you want to just lay it out how you think, and we'll get our responses, and we'll see whether Tracy gets in.
Let's play this one first.
You can't make it up. I'm actually in shock right now. All right, we got to look at this. Who remembers Polymarket? It's a betting site on who's going to win the election. And in Canada, the blue line was Pierre Poilievre, and you could see that it went straight down. And by the end of it, he was at 20%. But you got to check it out. It's insane. Australia had the exact same thing. The blue line, which is the Conservatives, they were winning as well, all the way down to 20%.
It's incredible how identical the two lines are. G'day, Tracy. How are you, darling?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you? Sorry, I was having technical problems getting in.
That's all right. Now. You're in now, so we'll just continue on, and we'll get your opinion. So
Well, actually, Peter Credlin has done a little bit of a breakdown on this. That's interesting, but I don't think she's 100% correct, and I'll explain why in a minute.
But, and this is a big but, there are some important points that need to be understood because the seat count is deceptive. Right now, Albanese has picked up some 87 seats off a primary vote of around 34.7%. Now, that primary vote might still bounce around a little as counting continues, but that's basically where it is. So a 34.7% primary, and he's got a pickup of 87 seats. Now, by contrast, the next best win, as I said, by Labor was right in 2007. And there, Kevin 07 picked up 83 seats on a primary of 43.4%. 43.4%. Now, that's massive. And it's a difference of about 10 percentage points on primary for about the same number of seats between Rudd and Albanese. Indeed, if I take a look at 2016, Bill Shorten there lost out to Malcolm Turnbull, but he had a primary vote then of 34.73%, and he lost. And yet tonight, as they're hailing Albanese as a Labor legend, his primary sits on 34.79. Now that's a difference of 0.06% between Shorten's loss and Albanese's triumph. 0.06%. And yet Shorten then claimed 69 seats. Tonight Albanese's got 87, maybe more. So how does that happen? Well, key here is obviously the flow of preferences and the fact that there are way more players on the left of politics now, some being declared on the left like the Greens, some who pretend they're not on the left but are like the Teals, who funnel preferences in a very disciplined way to Labor. Now, this is very much what happened in the recent UK election where Keir Starmer's Labor Party painted the map in red but off a very low vote share of the national vote. And this is what happened here in Australia on the weekend. Indeed, look at this. Look at the national vote here in sheer numerical terms. You've got 4.62 million Australians who voted Labor and 4.23 million who voted for the coalition. Now, that's a difference of just some 390,000 votes. But thanks to where they all fell and the preference flows, tonight Labor out of that hall has got 87 seats and the coalition hasn't even bagged 40. You see what I mean here about perspective. Turnout too, well, that's worth mentioning. In 2022, Australia had the lowest voter turnout since the First World War of 89.82% of the electorate. Right now, according to the AEC's website, that turnout's tracking at 77%. So to put that too into perspective, that's a massive drop that says voter engagement in our elections is falling fast.
Okay, Caz.
Well, we had a look at some numbers. Now, what's really interesting is this is tracking the tallies. If you look here, Kevin, I'm just going to mute your mic because it's got a bit of backfeed there. Just let you know when it's unmuted so you can speak again. Now, all right. So if you actually look here, now this is taken from today earlier. So down here, there's actually only 8 million people that have voted. Okay, so the turnout's only 8 million people of the 18 million people who are enrolled. Now, a little bit later in the day, it was actually up at 9 million. So you can see that number there. So it's 9,773,000. However, so that's 50%. That's 50%. However, when we actually looked at the numbers, so of the 18 million, okay, and according to The Guardian, there were 11 million people that voted. But if you take the donkey vote out of that, that would be 1,100,000. Okay, now on top of that, there are a lot of people who did no suitable candidate to follow my will. That is, I think we are going to be able to easily push it to less than 50%. Because on top of that, what we need to do is once it's settled on the 16th. Now, I actually rang the AEC today and I spoke to them, and I said to them, you know how many people have voted because they don't you tick them off on the day? And she said, well, yeah, that's usually how it goes. So it's a pretty good indicator, but they're obviously still counting them. However, when we need FOIA and we need HIPAA requests because we need them to hit the AEC and say how many people voted multiple times because that is an issue. We've seen it online. That Purple Pingers guy, he actually posted his votes. So saying vote often and vote early and vote often with his votes, multiple votes. And we also need a FOIA or a HIPAA request on how many people complained because they arrived to vote and they had already been marked off, because we also know that is a thing. Because we had people on the ground who was going around interviewing people in Melbourne on voting day to the different booths and the people who were doing the handouts, and it's come back that a lot of people were not voting for Labor. So something is fishy.
Two big parties, yeah.
Yeah, stinks to high heaven.
It's definitely been rigged. Okay, and those, like, just in those numbers Caz was going over, the formal votes was 13.6 million. The informal was 0.8 of a mil. So on the eligible electors is 18.1 million, and the turnout was 9.21. So what we're saying when you take away the donkey vote and stuff like that is we've nearly got a country of no confidence in the government. So let's just go around. Tracy, we're going to try and keep our responses to about 30 to 45 seconds each so we can get through this 45 minutes. So, Tracy, quickly first, on those numbers, what do you think?
Well, I can tell from my experience, my granddad is in a nursing home, and I left very specific instructions in his room up on the wall and with the unit director that he was not to vote when they come around, and that I would be taking him to vote because I want to make sure he voted for me, obviously. And that was completely ignored, and the AEC came into the nursing home and they were put in a room and carefully monitored how to vote. He said he did manage to vote for me. My point being that there's a lot of people in nursing homes, and if a nursing home can get away with, they were given very strict instructions, and they just completely ignored it.
Okay. Kevin, what's your thoughts there, bro?
I ran as an independent, and you're not allowed to collect donations, nor are you allowed to campaign until your nomination is accepted by the AEC. It won't be accepted by the AEC until an election is called. It takes you 3/4 of a week to gather the 120 odd signatures you need to get a nomination. So between that time and the pre-poll, you have 2 weeks and 3 days to campaign for 100,000 people. When I turned up at nursing homes 1 week into the pre-poll, I found out that the administration had loaded all of the people onto a bus and taken them to the polling station to vote. And that accounts for about 10,000 people in my electorate. So in other words, 10,000 people voted without even knowing that I exist. We have some really, really serious issues with the way we conduct elections. If you go to my webpage, kevinlockray.com.au, click on the presentation, the link you'll find in the heading on that page, and have a read, you'll find a comprehensive analysis of what exactly is wrong with our system of voting. And that is the reason why I have co-founded an organisation called Australians for Better Government. And I urge all listeners to go there, join up, have your say.
Okay. Well, I ran as a senator in 22, and we just watched them absolutely steal it. We done a forensic analysis on it with one of our people, got all the information, had all the information that it was fraudulent, but again, no one wants to listen to it, Kev, but they've pulled the same thing here. This is very, very fraudulent. Mark, what's your thoughts on those figures, mate, about the voting?
Yeah, I think they've done this because they are concerned about the minor parties and new independents, maybe even real independents. I had one guy that let me put my sign up on his business. He said, Mark, I went into a vote like I have for the last 50 years, and my name wasn't on the roll. They said, you're not on here. Not only that, I know of people whose postal votes did not arrive their postal in the mail, so they could vote. So I think they're doing this because they know there's a big push from the miners, and they're just trying to cover it up. Simple as that.
Well, they're not going to cover it up. We're not going to let them.
Yeah, but even on the primary vote, if you look at it, their primary vote was only, are you telling me that 4,700,000 people are going to dictate to 27 million people these radical policies that these people want to bring in? I think we've got them just on the numbers. Even if I'm correct,
that's 18%. That's only 18% of the country in the figures that we've got here have actually made the choice for Australia.
Yeah, it's not good.
How's that work?
I was noticing it. I've been keeping an eye on the AEC count, and I just sit there looking at the figures, going, "How is that possible?" I mean, I've been a scrutineer, and I know that it can depend. Like some booths can be much larger than other booths, so you can have one booth that could potentially have 50% of the community is going to vote there, and the rest are little tiny ones. But the actual figures still just don't add up. As Caz keeps saying, there was only 18%. The figures just don't align. It wasn't even 50%. That's the primary votes. Yeah, they just don't seem to be making sense.
Well, that's interesting that you should say that, because also we've got this situation now. The Fin Review has actually put this out that the Liberals in dispute with the AEC after counting error in ninth each seat.
Yeah, just reading the same article.
Yeah, 1,800 votes just suddenly turned up in the recount. Now, Madison Fox, she's called for Madison King, she's called for a recount. So has Jared Rennick. Because things are just not adding up. So it'd be very interesting to see. So she's also needs scrutineers. Guys, I actually tried to post her. This is an interesting story as well, because I tried to post that to Stop the Rot, Sack the Lot, I think to the 14,000 page, Dave, last night, and I couldn't actually do it.
Yep.
Wouldn't allow me. I've shared too much.
Yeah, Madison.
I've had a couple of notifications about what we're sharing, actually. Yeah, and then I get a congratulations. You know what I mean? On your content's going well because your numbers are up. But yeah, and the next thing I'm getting, hey, don't put that up and don't do this, and you're on notice.
I think
Anyway,
from the outset, the way that the media conducted the whole campaign, I know from a friend of mine, she ran independent in Queensland. She was a true independent, self-funded, but she was up against one of the community-funded Climate 200 independents. My friend was
yep.
not getting media attention whatsoever, even as a true independent, with no there was no way that you could tell which way her vote, whether she was left leaning or right leaning. She was just not given any media like Kevin, whereas the other girl was just given media daily, 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 daily. So the media has a lot to answer for as well, because they were just
Oh my
shutting
word.
out.
Yeah,
The media will call
the
you.
media have gone
Yeah,
right along with this, Tracy. Yeah, right along with it.
yeah.
And the other thing that I want to bring up is the Liberals using a cult, right, to actually, now there's a court case going on. Now why was this cult backing Dutton so hard and the Liberals? Was it because they'd already done a background deal that if the Liberals get in, we can get the right judge that we need to squash this thing? So again, we've got all this Dick Dastardly stuff going on, the same as what we saw in 2022, the same as what we saw in 2019, and the list goes on. The more we go back, the more we can now understand how much these guys rort, manipulate, and select, not elect, what's going on in this country. So again, what's our, Caz and I got, or, more Caz, but yeah, we've got an idea. We've been talking. And maybe we should be putting what we do have to get the pressure straight back on these guys with some FOIAs, some GIFers, you know what I mean, and get the information that we need and try and get it out places. So we'll just go around you again. You think that's a good idea, Kevin?
Look, I gave all of my details to the AEC and made it very clear to them that I was very happy for them to share these details. And when I say details, I'm talking about my email address and my mobile phone number. Twice I sent my details to the ABC, and right up until very near the end of the where the pre-poll started, they didn't have my picture up, they didn't have my web page up, they didn't have my contact details up. In other words, I didn't exist. The media has tried to make this out to be a two-horse race. The fact of the matter is that the independents and the what I would call the libertarian parties, plural, accounted most probably for somewhere between 12 and 15% of the actual vote. And that's what's missing when, Peter Credlin is talking. What she doesn't realize is that there is now a large body of people who are absolutely, totally pissed off with the two major parties. And that's a fact. I'm really disappointed with the people who do not vote. The ideal is that when people come to vote, they have researched thoroughly who is running for that election in their electoral district, and they make a considered and decisive vote. You can't do that if you have pre-poll, and pre-poll has been deliberately put in there to favour the established parties. It's also in there to devalue the vote, and that's exactly what has happened. We have a vote that is not worth anything because a lot of people voted in ignorance.
Well, we've actually got video footage of ballot boxes being wheeled out and put into private cars and transported. Like we got lots of them.
I actually said that in one of my videos. Vote on the day if you want to make sure that your vote is safe and will count. And look, there is no excuse. They shouldn't be still sitting at desks with books and ruling things out. The AEC sends you a letter reminding you of your obligation to vote. They could easily put your barcode there. You could easily provide your driver or authority for them to access your driver's license because it's already on the government file. So you're not giving anything extra away. You turn up on the day, and as if you're boarding a plane, you scan that barcode, up comes your face, they give you your ballot papers, and in you go. If someone tries the same trick later on, a buzzer goes off, and some blue boys turn up on either side and cart the person away. Simple as that.
And that'd be great, wouldn't it? But I don't think
at present,
I don't really see that in a hurry.
I had a really good relationship with the AEC people here in the seat of Richmond. They were all fabulous. I've got to tell you that and put that on the record. But the real problem is at the upper management of the AEC. They are not interested in expediting or automating the vote. And I'm not talking about putting things online where people can be hacked. I'm talking about you turning up with a printed letter, scanning the barcode, your face turns up on a display. They give you the ballot papers, you go and vote. It's all over in 2 minutes. Instead, we had people waiting for up to 45 minutes in long queues. It's just, this is ridiculous. Here we are in 2025, and we're still using a bloody system which existed in 1901. It's just scandalous.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it. I'm just trying to pull up this video footage of the ballot boxes being wheeled out and put into cars.
Yep,
but anyway, that's all right. But we've got lots of them. That's the whole point. Like, that's from the state election.
Heaps of them, yeah.
And they're zip tied. So you got cardboard boxes with zip ties on.
And a lot of our people, wouldn't like the idea of digital ID, because we're right away from that, Kev. We don't want any of that control factor. I see what you're saying about how to do it. What we've actually got to do is remove the criminal element, remove the New World Order's, pressure on top of the lobbyists, or the lobbyists on top of the politicians. As you know, what is it, 8 or 12 to 1 in Canberra, lobbyists to politicians? It's just unbelievable. So somehow or other, we got to clean this out. And the only way we can do that is to get it in front of as many Australian people as we can, all right, so they can actually see what's going on and why things aren't adding up. Because they all know, a lot of people out there know. They realise something's gone on, okay? They don't know where to find the information like we do.
Yeah. Right. I think also too, we on the centre to right need to. It's going to be hard to hear, but I think we need to do it. We need to step up more. We need to choose our candidates quicker. Like as Kevin said, Kevin was an independent. I watched him because I'm a friend on Facebook, so I watched him go around and gather his signatures, as too did my friend. But there's nothing stopping us from starting to campaign like now. For me, I'm talking I've got a state election in 2027, but there's nothing stopping us from starting to campaign 2 years out, 18 months out, getting to know, really starting to connect with the people. I think we need to get off social media a little bit more. We need to we need to start the footwork as well, and that could potentially make a difference. We've got to do a lot more ourselves to raise that awareness, because we know the media is not going to promote us. People are not. Everyone's.
I've been pushing this for a while, Tracy. What we've got to do, is get back our communities, get back hold of our councils, get hold of our schools, okay, and our P&Cs, and then we can be the difference. And then from there, we've got the best things in the world, mate. That is the kids, all right? Yes. Because once we've got the schools, we can educate the kids, who will then educate the parents, you know what I mean? And we can start and get this thing back. But whilst we're not got control of our own councils and our own destiny, we have no control over what our kids are being taught. They're just getting indoctrinated. Yeah, this is a losing battle. We have to get back down here on the ground what's ours and what we can control. And what you can control is you. Yeah. Okay. Simple, guys. It's you.
Yeah.
And how do you do that, Dave? How do you do it, Dave, when you're going to come up against a wall of wokeism and teachers and education?
You are. But what we've got to do is just persist, Mark, because, look, people are starting to realise the sort of crap that's going into their schools, in their books. We are getting the word out there. People are understanding, you know what I mean? So, again, as more people come on board, and, me and Caz are, and I'm with Caz now. I think this has done us a real big favour, guys. We expected nothing less. They've stolen it like so crazy.
We said beforehand.
We said before. Up, and we're going to expose them. Go, Caz.
Yeah.
Well, we knew this was coming, and and the thing is that it's actually beautiful because, like, a lot of stuff is just being revealed, but people are so angry they're actually like putting, they're just going for broke, and you're seeing stuff like this now. This guy here, this Mike Bush, the former New Zealand Police Commissioner, who oversaw the new police, who oversaw the Christchurch mosque attacks, has been appointed the new police chief of Victoria on the same day. This is published. So a multi-agency training at Westburn Park, Victoria Police, in conjunction with partnering with emergency services, are conducting a planned multi-agency training exercise on Thursday, the 8th of May. Now, we know that often when these training exercises happen, something goes awry at the same time. So you've got people so outraged that they're actually hitting social media with all of these different things. Dr. Joanne Howe, who's campaigning against the anti-abortion thing, she's noted that what they're doing now with this landslide win that they've apparently got is they're going for broke.
Premier Chris Minns has done a dodgy deal with the Greens to rush through the radical Greens abortion bill through the upper house this week. So throughout the federal election, Labor was cozying up to religious voters and Catholic priests and Christians, telling them, don't worry, this bill's not going to pass, this bill's not going to pass. And the very minute Labor wins in a landslide, they turn around to us and say, haha, screw you. We're bringing this bill on this week. We're going to give it government time. It's going to be our first priority. Never mind the schools, hospitals, houses, transport system are in a mess in New South Wales. We just want to get more abortion.
So you've got that. You've also got all of the international students, When you look at, I've got two more little things to show, and then I'm going to wrap it up with a statement. Look.
Was suspended from a nursery after they were accused of being transphobic or homophobic.
Okay, so you've got that, and you've got this.
This crime of modernity, which is the destruction of childhood. We're living at a time when children are literally being prepared to become little consumers, where their childhood is being robbed from them, where they are being confused so much about who they are and what their identity is.
So this is what we're facing. No, but I think our line in the sand needs to be now. We've got them. We can see from the numbers that there's fraud going on. We also have the 1,800 votes that were suddenly found. I expect there to be a few more little fraud exposures, but even just with those and just looking at the numbers, once you remove the donkey vote, once you remove the protest vote, which is the no suitable candidate to follow my will, I think that we've got them under the 50%. And even if we haven't, it's so close that I think that we basically we go no confidence. It needs to start now. Guys, we need to get it trending. At elbow, no confidence, no confidence, no confidence. Our people get things trending. Like we've had stuff get trending straight away. So this is what we're facing. Do we want our kids being told in kindergarten, being expelled because you're transphobic? Like, they want to rush through these abortion bills. They've brought this guy in from New Zealand. What are we going to face? A few more terrorist attacks so they can remove even more rights?
Yep, exactly.
Probably.
Yeah, Mark. Okay, Mark, you asked me the question. Let's go around and use that question for a minute, okay? Because this is what the people want to hear. What we think. We've had an election. It's been stolen, Mark. You're a candidate. So you said to me, okay, how do we do that? So what do we do, Mark? What, in your eyes, what do we do? Let's get everyone's opinion here on the panel, okay, about what you see the best way for Australia to move forward, because we're up against the devil himself, and we know it.
Yeah, that's right, Dave. Well, like Kevin was saying, we need to start now. We need to start with our political aspirations now. We've got 18 months before the next Victorian, or less, for the Victorian election coming up, and another 3 years for this dastardly federal election. And we need to find special people. I tell you, guys, and the people aren't the ones you think they are sometimes. People that are going to stick by you, people that are going to turn up when you say, look, we've got to get together. We've got to get those leaflets into letterboxes. We've got to man the polls. Find those people and hang on to them. It's very hard because us independents, we don't have the big money. We don't have the big gusto. And if you want to know who's winning the elections, just follow the money. Follow the money, guys.
Yep.
Those who have the biggest kitty, get in. This is a dreadful democratic reality here in Australia.
It's not democratic. Democratic is the will of the people. The majority rules. It's not the majority. It's a small minority. It's 4,700,000. Okay, you've got the Liberal Party with their votes, and then you've got the others who voted Conservative, which is basically 75%. So you've got a 75% versus the 25% who are basically making the decisions for us.
And what I'm saying, Caz, it's a dreadful democracy. That's what I'm trying to get around to. It's you're right. It's not a democracy. It's for the millionaires, you know, and some stupid billionaires that don't know what to do with their money, like Clive. But honestly, guys, we need hearts, and it takes time. And unfortunately, there's very few out there that want to support us independents, but I did it because constitutionally it's the right thing to do, is to run as an independent, but it's been totally sabotaged by Teals and this Orange County thing we've got here in my electorate, who still kept her seat. It's as simple as that.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, Shaz, what do you see going forward, darling? You've just been through the campaign as well, and I feel your pain, people. I've done this in 22. It's a nightmare of a thing to do. It is crazy. It burns you out. It stresses you out. And, it doesn't matter how cool you are. You're under pressure. Why? Because you're getting attacked from every avenue. You're getting frustrated because that's what they want to do to you. Because they can get you frustrated. Then they can get a film clip of you getting frustrated. Then they'll plaster that all over the media. No worries at all. They won't say Kevin's a good bloke or Tracy should be in. But, Tracy had a spit at people at the beach. Well, yeah, why wouldn't Tracy, when no one could do anything for Tracy except Tracy? There is no help out there. So, Mark, you're exactly right. So, Tracy, go on. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Okay, so for me, I'm going to start as an independent, like ASAP. Even if I can use my skills to be educating people around the processes. I was quite surprised at the amount of people that didn't know how to vote. But just as a sidetrack, and just to let you know, like I'm really furious. I'm not only furious with the election, but today I spent my time in the Human Rights Commission, New South Wales Human Rights Commission, supporting a male who had suffered really bad age discrimination in a public service entity. I can't say which one. However, we've been going through this now for about 4 years, trying to dig to the bottom what's going on, why was this allowed. Quite surprised with things that were coming back. Managers are allowed to step outside of policy and procedures. There's quite a high psychosocial workers' comp matters that have all of a sudden appeared over the last 10 years. And there's been a suicide at this particular workplace. And today I was completely gobsmacked to learn, and even the Human Rights Commission was completely gobsmacked. This public entity, it's not mandated that managers or supervisors have to do the discrimination training that you and I have to do. They are basically free for all. They can do what they want. And yeah, we were totally blown away. As I said, even the HRC, because this is now starting to explain why people are having psychosocial claims, why there's bullying in the workplace going on, why these things are happening in these public entities, why people are leaving and purging these public entities, and it's just not on. These managers, it's the elite again. These people can do whatever the hell they want, and to hell with the average person. Now, if you did that, if you did that, you would be in trouble. And we've got to start pulling the elite into line. So that's why I'm having a really big focus on New South Wales state government, and really want to start exposing these kind of things that are going on.
Beautiful. Well, we're here to help you expose them. So you've got them, you bring them on the show, and we'll get them out there. That's what it's all about, getting it out to the public. So thank you. Okay, and what are you going to be doing in the future, Kevin? What's your plan, sir?
Plan is that I'm going to be doing a High Court challenge, and I will be conflating with that High Court challenge the various lessons that I've learnt during this during this campaign. In New South Wales, it's illegal for you to campaign or accept donations until your nomination is accepted by the Electoral Commission. So you have to be very cagey. You can't actually say vote for me, but there's nothing to stop you from holding public gatherings and talking about all the problems and getting visibility and a presence. The core of my High Court challenge is against above and below the line voting, because Chapter 1, Part 2, Paragraph 7 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Australia says that electors are to vote directly for the candidates, and with above the line voting, political parties have interposed themselves between the candidate and the elector. There are a whole range of things, and we don't have enough time for me to go through them, so I'll give you the headlines. I mentioned before that it's very important that when voters go to vote, that they're fully informed of the candidates and that they make a cogent decision as to who would be best, in their best interest to elect. The way you can be ensured, now I'm very much in favour, by the way, of compulsory voting for a whole range of reasons, but the big negative of compulsory voting is that the outcome of elections are determined by the uninterested group of voters, which can number about 20% of the total voting population. An uninterested voter turns up on the day ignorant about the people running and simply takes a how to vote card and goes in and votes according to that how to vote card, in which case, once again, you're in breach of paragraph 7 because a political party has interposed themselves between the elector and the candidate. The way you get around this is that you forbid any electoral material to be near a polling place. You do not put any party on the candidate on the ballot, and you jumble up the names on the ballot such that every ballot that you hand out presents the candidates in a different order to the one before it and the one following it. That way, the donkey voter and the uninterested voter are all at sea, and their votes are basically spread statistically evenly amongst all of the candidates. In that way, all the votes that are then cast are done by people who have actually studied who the candidates are and have made a deliberate decision as to who is best for them. That's, I mean, I'm going to say, but we don't have time for it.
Yeah, look, can I just interrupt? Because it's interesting you should say that about paraphernalia. Have a look at this. Like, it's like a competition about who can get them all corflutes up.
Believe me, that was nothing compared to what the Greens did here in the seat of Richmond. By the way, if we got rid of all of that paraphernalia, then independents would be able to compete on an equal basis with all of the parties, because at present mobs and money determine who gets elected.
Yeah, restrict it to one corflute per candidate. There's no need for all these.
Corflute, nothing. You do not. You do not want the uninterested voter to get a clue at all. You want the uninterested voter to be totally at sea. People should go and do their research. And to that end, the AEC should provide and advertise vigorously a facility where every elector can go to an AEC website, see who is running in their electoral division, click on that person, go to that person's website, and at the end of that process, a person should be able to go into a VPN, that's a virtual private network, just as you do with PayPal, and construct your own how to vote card. What's more, the software could ensure that you will not then cast an informal vote, because the software will ensure when you make up your how to vote card, it is actually perfect.
Yeah, and I've got an idea too, guys. This came to me while I was on the polling booth, particularly pre-poll, because it drags, you know. Why not, when people walk into the foyer of the polling booth, we have on the wall interactive screens where people can tap on one of the candidates. They can go to the basic quick headline policies of that candidate as they're going in the door.
No, definitely not. They should do this in the privacy of their own home. They should talk with their friends. They should have heated arguments with family and whatever.
Unfortunately, Kev, that's great ideas, but the art of debate's been taken out of society, all right? And those sort of things. Most Australians are that dumbed down with fluoride, you know, stuck pineal glands, bad frequency, disease in the body. Everyone's under pressure, mate. So no one, I don't think half of this country really
you do not
cares.
want those persons voting. You don't want those persons voting. That's final. You do not, if they turn up at the polling place and they have not done their study, you want their vote not to count. And the way you do that is you jumble up all the names on the ballot so they haven't got an effing clue. That's how you do it. I'm sorry, I can't accept any excuses, and I certainly do not want you having stuff on the wall in a polling place trying to convince voters at the last moment how they should vote. That's just bloody national suicide.
Fair point.
Sorry to be.
To me, a bit unrealistic because it won't happen. Yeah, but anyway,
we just lost Tracy there for a minute, so sorry about that, Tracy.
She's back.
That
let's
happens.
start campaigning ourselves as well. Let's I like Kevin's ideas, and I would support like the High Court challenge, because the independents, it is really hard to be that independent. There's a lot of it's difficult, but we can still.
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second, Tracy.
Yeah.
It is my opinion that the moment that an election has finished, you as an independent should be able to approach the relevant electoral commission and say, it is my intention to run in the next election. And in which case the AEC should establish a bank account for you and nominate a person who will be your chief financial officer. That person collects your donations. You write to that person when you want to get printing done or so forth, so that at the end of the campaign, you've got no administrative work to do whatsoever. And you can be absolutely sure that you will not have trespassed on any of the regulations, because believe me, there's a book of regulations.
Yeah.
There is, and that's the problem. And the whole problem is, yes, we've got to be in their playpen to be able to activate against them. And thank you to all you people that have run. We really appreciate it. But the bottom line is these guys haven't got a jurisdiction to stand on. It is all illegal. It is all a scam. Okay. And it's all, as you said before, you want those voters lost at sea. Well, we're all lost at sea at the moment, Kevin, until we grab this back. And you know exactly what I'm saying when I say that. We are under maritime law. Okay. It's been brought onto land. Okay. And we have a court system that is a banking system. Okay, we have rorts going on left, right, and centre. Our countries are run by lobbyists, not politicians. Okay, we shouldn't have politicians and parties, as you say. You should be voting for an independent, person. So we've got a lot to do, guys, and we shouldn't even be voting. But unfortunately, they've put us in a position where we have to enter their system to try and make a difference. So again, Cazzy, you got any final words just before we close up? But I want to thank you people again. We're going out.
We have them now.
Doing the hard work.
Yeah. No, look, the thing about I think we are in a fantastic position. This election has revealed lots of really good people who are standing their ground, who are prepared to fight for us, who are not giving up because of this. The fraud is being exposed. It's just rolling out each day. There's more of it. When you look at the numbers, it just doesn't make sense. And I think we've got them. I actually do. My line in the sand is here. I'm not going to go down this track with them again. I'm not going to do this in 4 years. 3 years or 4 years, as Albo wanted to make it, because there's not going to be a country left. So anyway, that's my little rant. But look, the Rocking Housewife is taking us out. Her song is "Together We Rise," and I thought it was appropriate. But line in the sand. We actually have them. We've got them now. I really believe that, and we'll do that on the 16th. We'll be submitting FOIA requests. But I think that in the meantime, no confidence. We're looking at it. No confidence.
Get it trending. No confidence in Albo. Yep. Let's get it out there, guys, and get it going. All right. We get the momentum going. And as you know, we've made a difference before. We can make a difference once again. And I'd like to thank you three again for trying to make a difference in the political scene in Australia. It is what we've got to do. As much as we're all against it, okay, we have to be in it to win it. Okay. So until we get the numbers to say no more, we're not playing, we have to play. All right. Because we're in the field. And they're coming at us, guys. The opposition is tough. The opposition is led by a great master called the Devil. He's the best deceiver and the best liar in the world. And he's the guy that we're up against. So God bless you. Godspeed. Thank you for the evening, gentlemen and ladies. That was a great interview. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
you. Thank you heaps. I'm really grateful. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.